And just over 2 years passed. And there are some extremely worrying signs. Worrying signs that are fundamental. You have a government that seems to want to entrench a policy of political victimization and vengeance. A government that seems to want to entrench a new class structure in our country based upon the utterances and the statements. When you hear certain regular utterances from 5, 6, 7 cabinet ministers, one have to start to believe that is part of the policy. And you have to be concerned. You ought to be concerned. Now we have the NNP. And the question we have to ask, the way forward, is it with NNP? Are we considering another option? That must be of concern. Master Call, is NNP ready to take the mantle forward? Would NNP adopt this new political phenomenon that has been introduced in this country of political vengeance, of hostility against people in the lower income group? So I think it's only fair, as we jump in the deep politics, to ask the question, NNP, is it the way forward?
Morning, Sir Pierre, and thanks for having me here. You ask a very pertinent question, in my view, because of the track record of the NNP, and one might say politics is futuristic and not past. However, the policy of any political organization is important. You spoke to the present government and its policy towards persons in the lower economic strata of society, and they're not serving the people. The expectations of most of the people in this country is not met. The policy of this government, the utterances from ministers, the flagship achievement of this government is paying pension to 525 persons. When you ask them what is the main achievement, they say paying pension. But apart from paying pension for 525 persons, over 3,000 persons was made go. They let out, they're not working anymore. And in recent days, the courts has been a couple of rulings, or a ruling in particular came out where the government has to pay somebody for wrongful dismissal. The procedure of dismissal and so on was not followed. So that speaks to the policy. Then, through the carnival season, we heard the utterances of ministers, or a minister in particular. And then in recent days, we heard the representative of Karaku, because to quantify what he was saying, he unclothed himself with minister. He said, let's say me not a minister. You see that before you see what he had to say. I'm just the parliamentary representative. I don't talk like minister, talking. And then he launched to me one of the most serious assault on the public service by claiming they work in, they get pay and they want water. Now, it is interesting to note, I'm saying all of that to get back to NNP, It is interesting to note, Mr. Pierre, when Dr. Mitchell spoke of the happenings in the hospital in terms of what usually takes place, which was factual, he get a lot of beat up for stating facts. Remember the chicken thing? But here we have a minister saying who are morning bank. So apart from having an assault on the lower income bracket, they graduate the assault on even person who they deem have now. I thought in all intention purposes, those were the persons they used to defend. And then he talk about the public servants who work in, and he single out the teachers, Mr. Pierre. That was significant. The same teachers his government tried to appease by giving them the dark salaries. No. With all that said, let's get to NNP. NNP has been around for 40 years. And the whole landscape of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, when you look around, you would see the handwriting of NNP. And you know what is interesting
40
to note?
years is a significant period. In the Bible, they say 40 years in the wilderness.
Yes.
40 years. Could you
Children
call a
of
political
Israel.
party an institution?
Yeah.
After 40 years, that political party
And
is a significant
NNP has
milestone.
given a good account of itself in 40 years. And if you look at Carriacou, the same minister in Carriacou say you don't give no politician props for building roads and so on. When all of this, the road stands out in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. In terms of mainland Grenada, mostly all the major developments in mainland, well, they so-called the NNP a concrete government, remember that? Farm roads, feeder roads, and other roads. In terms of, you talk about the National Stadium, you talk about the bus terminus in Grenville, Sortes, St. George's, the Prime Ministerial Complex, the Financial Complex, the educational part in the Financial Complex of the. So apart from infrastructure, the amount of scholarships and persons who have benefited from the policy of NNP to allow persons, because NNP recognize that education is one of the vehicles to take you out of poverty. And persons who have benefited and have doctorate and others now still beating up on NNP, saying they don't do nothing, but they are a product of what NNP has done. Even in the disaster period, I must mention it was the foresight of NNP to include all, to pay insurance for all facets. That's why we could get all these monies and so on. So, does NNP, the question is, Mr. P, I think, what might be the proper one to ask? Does NNP still have the appetite to govern this country? I think that might be a more fitting question to ask. And we should look into the makeup of the NNP, the tolerance to persons who may not have been NNP from day one and have integrated into NNP, the way they accept persons.
Because tolerance is a very, very important thing in politics.
Yes.
In some countries, in Guyana perhaps, and some countries, you have ethnic problems.
Trinidad too.
Trinidad, so you have this problem. Or some countries, your class structure is very marked.
Yeah.
In our country, it's almost like a pilau, although some people trying to separate the peas from the rice. But so tolerance level is important because politicians have power. And if you are critical of a politician, sometimes Peter pay for Paul. Your child don't get a scholarship. Because we in small countries, or your child don't get a job in the public service. So the tolerance level of our politician in a democracy is very important. You don't want vindictive politician. We had one politician, they call him Brian Nancy. Every time he going in parliament, the guys sit on the block calling him Brian Nancy. he sent a bulldozer and mashed up the wall. The wall was 100 years old. He break down the wall. So they can't stay on the wall and call him Bear Nancy again. He was a very good politician. But that act alone had me worried. And we come from a background in Grenada where we had a lot of accusation of Eric Geary
Yeah.
showing some level of intolerance. Although sometimes I support to drop some lash on them because they used to call those Gearyites stinking Gearyites, very insulting. And the Gearyites done was, most of them was illiterate estate children. They was very demeaning and insulting to them. Right? And then we had the revolution. And the revolution jailed over 3,000 Grenadians. So coming from that background, you had a political party that come in during the time and we had a lot of retrenchment and people lost their work. And then you have NNP, and particularly NNP with Dr. Mitchell in leadership. I must say the level of tolerance was legendary because perhaps Dr. Kate Mitchell and NNP is the most, they received the most criticism in politics in Grenada.
Definitely.
The attack on
from
them.
From all and sundry, the unions, the churches, everybody.
Relentless. And in all that, I can't remember any of the ministers acting vindictively or showing or threatening to shoot somebody or close them down, etc. Keith Mitchell, Gregory Boyd, Peter David, Emmeline Pierre, Miss Clarice Modest, Yolan Bain Harsford, Oliver Joseph, Mr. Steele, Kakabawi for Kakabawi.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of these groups had shown a level of tolerance that we must speak about, that we must admire.
Yep.
That even if you don't like them or you don't agree with them, in the face of mounting criticism, I have not seen publicly or heard any one of them threatened. And they had the power to do it.
One of the things, the hallmark about NNP again, Mr. Pierre, what is ability to be inclusive.
Inclusiveness.
The inclusion of persons who were not necessarily NNP from day one has found a home within the new national party.
That again we must speak about. Because during the revolution, if they accuse you of being a counter-revolution,
going in jail,
you could get jail. Heavy manners. Maurice Bishop say if you say day, you're locking up day.
Mm-hmm.
So the level of inclusiveness in NNP could not have been matched. And it wasn't pretend. Members who was from other political party came into NDC and was able to function at the highest level.
Yep.
And I think these are very strong points of a political party. Their inclusiveness, the level of tolerance. And I never forget the statement made by Tobias Clement. When he left the NNP, he was in an interview and they asked the question, will you join NDC? Tobias, in his always contemplative mood, said NDC is not an inclusive party.
No, they are not.
Now, one should have heard a hue and cry from the top members of executive of NDC denying that, but they did not deny.
No, something like that, you expect the party to say no. But the thing about it with the Congress, the words associated with persons, that speaks to the policy. They call you traitor. If they believe you was at NDC one time and you're not anymore, they are lying you as a traitor. Then they say, you're classless, you're beggy, you're hungry, you're dunce. And if you end up in a discussion with any one of them, either they tell you dunce or I thought better of you. So that speaks to their belief in class, Mr. Pierre. And even if some might not believe it, there's a class structure here.
Yeah.
Because some persons here believe anytime the education level is at a particular height, they believe they're better than the ordinary man. And they treat the ordinary man as such. But that is not a hallmark of NNP.
No.
NNP seems to be the inclusive party.
The inclusive party. People who have left other parties and come to NNP seems to be very comfortable from day one.
Yeah.
And even their members, their rank and file members on the ground will constantly tell you there's room in the house for you, always welcoming you. And when we're dealing with political parties, these things are very important. For today, election is going on in the United States, election campaign. You have a caller on the line? Yes, well.
Morning, caller.
Yeah. Caller, you live on the program. Okay.
Give them the number.
The number to call is 410-3030. And we're right in the center of politics. And we're asking the way forward. Is NNP ready, prepared? Do they have the appetite for the way forward? And we're going through that. And we've been looking at NNP's track record where inclusiveness and tolerance is concerned. And we are saying that track record is remarkable. No other political party in Grenada have been inclusive and tolerant as the NNP. No other political party. And particularly now, when you're witnessing the version of NDC, that is the worst version of NDC, that version, the question is, does NNP have the appetite to continue with that level of inclusiveness and tolerance? You could well find a party taking out from NDC and believe they have to match them. You say it was your time? Well, it's my time now.
That is not advisable.
And it's not advisable at all.
And the discussion, Mr. Pierre, is so relevant at this time. Because a lot of persons, when you sat down with them and spoke of last election, some gave the impression that they felt NNP got tired. You see, NNP as a party ought not to discount what he said. You need to listen. A lot of persons felt because of the longevity of the NNP,
they get complacent.
They felt they get tired.
Take for granted.
So that is why the relevant question here is, has NNP regained that appetite to govern? I believe so, based on speaking to persons. However, it is not for only me to be convinced. It's like when you're talking to me, you're singing to the choir. So I already know the song. But for persons who are what we call on the fence, is up here. Because,
Undecided
yes,
individual.
because
'Cause,
NNP received in excess of 28,000 votes and did not win. Based on the system we operate in, it's first past the post. So who get the most vote generally wins the election. You don't you hardly have minority governments in the region.
I think St. Vincent.
St. Vincent is yeah, they have a minority government in terms they have more seats but the popular votes. However, NNP needs to attract out 3,500 plus voters to what they had.
The previous election, they won by about 10,000 votes.
Yeah. So the question begs here, senior, does the NNP have the appetite to do the political work necessary? Because, in my view, the present administration, by their policies, has not cement their place to get in the next stop.
You have a caller on the line
You
for
understand?
the program? Yes, caller, welcome. You're live on Studio Galaxy and we're the Galaxy Equalizers.
Good
Yeah.
morning, you hear me?
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre. Wonderful, Master Carl morning.
Yes.
Hey.
Right, your topic very good. But when we look, one of the problems that we face in Grenada today is that the ability to debate issues. I've listened to your program over the time and you give so much facts of what is actually happening, and people still denying the fact. People have not learned to debate. I remember in the revolution time when you go in GBS and the schools, a lot of debates between GBSS and college and brought a lot of political issues of the world and all what it's supposed to be. The problem NDC is facing is accepting good governance. The problem at NDC that they come into power to get rid of Keith Mitchell and not to run the country. Keith Mitchell has a legacy that we have to upkeep, and we're looking for more leaders of that quality. And too many times I continue to say that we continue to pay emphasis on lawyers. A lawyer don't have a wide scope to run politics. They are limited in their knowledge. Just like they cooperate together, the country make legal issue for them to be lawyers. They don't have to go out as a businessman to look to see, okay, I'll get a shipment of salvage here, fine in next month, and they have to push it out. They don't know that. The system has made policy for them. And I continue to say, the lawyers sit there and they see poor people come to them and pay all what they have, sell a piece of land to gain a piece of land. So they believe that poor people have money, but people make sacrifices to own something for their children. Because the scripture said parents have to leave something for their children. So they make that sacrifices. What we need is to debate issues and have issues on what kind of leaders are supposed to run our country. And too many times our lawyers are facing, we need more businessmen and more entrepreneurs to get themselves involved in business that they have a wider scope of what it is to take a dollar and stretch it. And that's where Dr. Keith Mitchell be them, because he has the mathematics, he's a professor, he has political science, so he understands the economical issues that takes place on an everyday basis, and they develop the people around him. Everybody is saying at the end of the day that he's a one party. Tell me who wasn't a one party, Gary, Bishop, everybody. He's good leadership. And I can always say when you look at a gentleman like Mr. Bola, Miss Emlyn Pierre, the qualities of these people, when you look at them when they started to where they are today, any one of them could be political leaders today because of good leadership. And we have to acknowledge that, not because we want that change. And I look at it, we wanted that change not because that NMP was not doing good, because we wanted to give somebody else a chance. But we took a chance with a mosquito that giving us malaria. And this is what we have to pay attention to, watch our leaders and see the quality of them, how they are done within society, and then we can take a chance to do so. So I believe one of NSC problem is just trying to get rid of Keith Mitchell and not trying to run the country. Thank you, sir.
Yes, scholar, and we want
The
to.
caller hit a serious point. In all of the issues that is going on in Grenada presently, Mr. Pierre, which lawyer has taken it up to assist people pro bono? Senior.
Pro bono is when lawyers do
Free.
charitable work. Like that, they have a special award to put the character pro bono.
Because they're not interested in people is once you come with the money. And that is sad. The other point the person touched on, and you said, I heard you say that before, the construct of the present NNP, that is why I use the word appetite all.
Yeah.
Anyone, Dr. Mitchell, Kate Lewis, Emmeline Pierre, Dr. Modest, Peter David, anyone in my view would do a better job than the present Prime Minister.
Well, there's no question any member of NNP would do a much better job than Deacon. And let's say Kate Lewis, and because she is one of the younger members, we say in Kate Lewis, Oliver Joseph, Mr. Steele, Miss Modest, Emmeline Pierre, Peter David, any one of them would do a much better job than this present Prime Minister that have been attracting names like vultures and deceiver. And the last one I'm satisfied with, poor people terrorists. Some of the actions they take is spellbound. You can't believe a politician in Grenada, well, you could, 50 years into our independence could do that. And that is why we ask in the question, as you put it, do NNP have the appetite to continue in that direction? And I think it's important to ask that because bearing in mind that they lost the election, they would have felt that they have performed, they have been very productive, they have reached out to people, and they still lost the election. Although they warned people that what this group is offering you is unrealistic. It is not genuine. It's like pie in the sky. And people gravitated towards them. So the question is relevant in the context, would NNP change their policy? Or would they continue with that policy
Of inclusiveness.
of being inclusive, of being tolerant, of recognizing the value of seeking the interests of the people in the lower income group?
And not go down the road of restorative justice.
And not go down the road of vengeance. Because you believe it was done to your members. You come in power and change the policy, and you're going after NDC members now. Grenada is a small country, and you don't want to practice vengeance. When the NNP introduced, I don't know the legal term for it, but they made laws to expunge the character, the reputation of individuals who had problems in the court, or you say it.
Well, see, use the word expunge in the sentence.
The sentence. So somebody
Expunge a conviction.
the conviction. So they have 1 year after a period of time for petty crime, small crime. Government went and take the necessary measures, the necessary legal measures to wipe the slate clean and give them a second chance. I'm a great advocate that I'm somebody who commit a crime and the penalty is 1 year less should not go to jail. Particularly if it is not a sexual crime.
Okay.
One understanding in the
once it is a petty crime.
Once it's a crime that the penalty is a year less. If it is not a sexual crime or crime with children and so, that person should not go to jail. We should do I believe in giving people a second chance.
So you're thinking about
First
community
offender,
participation as well?
community participation, charging them, but not sending them to prison. Too much of our young people are going to jail and then they can't get a police record.
Yeah, when they come out, that to me that is an issue. Because sometimes persons, based on, as you say, they recognize that they were wrong. They also pay their dues to society because so sentence is paying your dues to society. So after which, like we friend us say, the sword of Damocles to be held over one's head, I think is not something fit and proper
And I say that in the context of Deacon Mitchell introducing draconian laws
in terms of the
in the
firearm.
country. No, you had a government that say no, we have to give people a second chance. These guys might have lost it. We're going to expunge the conviction so that would not be held over their head. Wipe the slate clean. Give them a second chance. Go to the prison and trying to reform the individuals in the
Rehabilitate.
prison. You know, the Imani program,
The win
over 3,000
the
people.
Winston Courtney method of rehabilitation in the prison. But you bring up that, and I just want to make this point as it relates to the firearm. The first utterances from the Prime Minister was that he knew he had premonition and was just a matter of time. And that had nothing to do with him. But based on commentators like you and others, got to him, so he had a knee jerk reaction. So he decided, okay, they're talking about how doing nothing. Let me punish everybody.
Not a
Like I always say, the law was not made to punish people. Once you start to use the law as a punishment and not a remedy, it becomes a problem, Mr. Pierre. How do you equate 40 years for a firearm? Yes, we all don't like the firearm thing. We all advocate and spoke about it. And we believe, as you say, other
caller
things
on
could
the
be
line.
done.
Yes. Yes, caller, welcome you live on the program with the Galaxy Equalizers.
Good morning, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother. Good.
I would like to chat a little bit on point that NNP didn't campaign hard enough. That why probably lost the election. But I want to go as far as back the briefcase. When the NNP bring the briefcase, right? It was 8-9. Any when the briefcase
8-7.
come, it was 8-7. It was 8-7. And the briefcase was wicked. But Master Carl, when the men bring everybody permanent and pension, look at the sell pension. Look at the sell pension. And by the stroke of the pen, everybody will be permanent. There's no need for a parallel public service. Eh? That one was hard. But I can remember you, Mr. Pierre, all about you. And you talk about all your truth, And you beg the Canadian public. And you beg them. Walmart beg them. Eh? But that permanent and pension, young people and grade, they run for that. They run for that. Let me go back and when Walmart make their statement about workers in the hospital, different thing in the hospital. That was real. I don't listen to go round guns out. Every time the opposition bring up about the medical system in St. Vincent, Commissar say, let me put different everything. Different meat, different pillow, different mattress and all. In Parliament, he just say that. Well, right now, the DNC and them take my thing now, they call them guns and wall boss. Because they hear about the wall boss in Grenada. Right? Wall boss. I was a member of the NNP. We will brand him CIA, you know. 84, like coming 40 years now. 40 years. We don't bring him, we brand him CIA man. The man's a good man. I love people. But he's a man who loves people. He feels passionate about poor people. You know, every time I call him a name, I don't catch cold bomb to see what he do for this country. When they were doing the cruise terminals, I work with Ashley for 7 months, sir. From start till the last piece of equipment go on board that boat, you know. And my manager for media, one day had a meeting with world boss. When the man come back on the job, he watch me laughing. I said, boss, are you laughing so? He said, something to tell you, you know. I said, go on, boss. He said, watch. When me and the prime minister chatting, he said, prime minister tell him, you have a man in prison calling so and so name. I wanted to give him all the money. The boss turned and said, that's my supervisor. But boss couldn't believe. But boss always believe. He always know. He tell people, anyway, go over Grenada. People tell him about that man from prison. The man, what? The man no thing. And the man does say, the man never come in front of me and ask for a job. Never. Never come ask me for a job. The man always finding something to do by himself. Always finding something to do for himself. The second 15th seat, I leave the mountain, I go and fish. I day and the sea fishing. The phone ring, I answer the phone. This man will work in NNP. I ain't relying calling him. So I say, so where you get me number? He say, well, boss give me that. And boss tell me to call a number. He say, another man that always a guy said by himself, they don't come to me and ask for no job and then. But if you ain't doing nothing, like it's something to do. So I say, boss, watch out. I work with so and so person, see you God. Same thing the man tell me. But we miss Mr. Pierre. Anyway you want Master Kali are following all, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Any
you.
program they do you following.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and Mr. Pierre, you remember when I brand the man for people terrorists, some enemies still want to kill me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at what I know.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
a pure people terrorists.
A terrorist.
Yes.
I don't know what
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I think when this gentleman said he was poor people terrorist, I was slightly taken aback, but I keep on paying attention to it. And every day, I don't know what poor people do this, man. Look at the houses. And when we make statements like that, we always try to bring some pointers so people could understand why we say what we see. Yeah. 10 minutes more in the program.
What so
Why we say what we see.
so senior, what is it why you think is the way forward for the NNP?
Well, just let me point out that in 10 minutes more. But when we say poor people terrorists, we always want to add a few pointers for people to recognize why we see what we see. Look at the $150 immediately the individual comment what he did. Election was in June. By the 5th of July, people were being fired. In addition to that, look at the houses. How do you explain these houses that was done to Carrico? How do you explain the torturing of the money and the fact that government have a minimum wage, but yet I don't know what the road workers do the government because in 2008, 2013, they removed $10 from the pay, and now that they raised the minimum wage to $60 a day, they still paying them 45. What in God's name poor people do, Dick Mitchell? And that's why I believe that he deserves and is well qualified to be called poor people terrorists. But we on NNP again. And as we ask the question, NNP appetite for going forward. And obviously, we'll have to spend some more um, time on that as we speak about the ministers, but we speak about the inclusiveness, the level of tolerance. They pay particularly attention to the people in the lower income group. That is the government that is responsible for infrastructure and the thoughtful thinking, in-depth strategy of even insuring the country.
Well, even the policy towards youth, because NNP get the most beat up for e-money.
Yes, yes.
And then NNP still had the safety net programs in which the NDC removed the 150. Remember, you realize they don't bring back nothing back.
No, no,
They
no.
try to bring back somebody, they don't bring back nothing for school children. You talk about the Empower program and all those other programs NNP had to reach young men and women. So at least NNP had a policy of dealing with the youth. Now, this government promised so much thing to the youth. Unfortunately, Mr. Lacret is not a part of the government now to see the things happen for the youth. And it goes back to the policy. So when I ask about the appetite of the NNP, will the NNP continue to have the appetite to institute those programs and stand by it, even when it was not the most popular thing so to do? And like I ask you, what would the NNP do going forward? Because the Imanis, they took what do you call it, hook, line, and sinker about permanent and pension.
And they removed pay from some of the humanity.
Yes.
Those that was getting 1,300, they removed $300 from them, and some of them getting 1100.
And here the policy again, Mr. Pierre, minimum wage. If you was over, they make sure they bring you down to minimum wage. But those persons who doing road, walk on the road and thing, the most vulnerable of the lot, because they get it either Easter, either August or Christmas.
3 or 4 times.
But you still do paying the minimum wage. And that speaks to the policy of this government. So the NNP, should they return to political office, ought not to go down that road
They are not supposed
of political persecution. Because what's going on in Grenada is political persecution.
Political persecution. Restorative justice.
You have some form going around for assistance and so on. And what the question 6, they're asking you how much people in your house over 18 years. 18 years is vote age, eh?
Yeah.
So you see something sinister already.
Yeah.
And that is the policy they always look into, take advantage on poor people children.
That is why they set up the department with mobilization.
Ministry of Mischief.
That is a department for political mischief.
I want to hear the minister in Carrick saying all your money in the bank, and then you're seeing supplementary budget for 15 million for houses in St. Mark and St. Patrick. You know that, you know this thing, you think. Yeah. And Mr. Pierre, we had the national budget. And usually we September, October, November, December, so or the ending of November into December. 3 months away the budget supposed to read. You come and ask for supplemental now. And that is the policy and NNP cannot adopt that policy should they return. No.
And that is why we ask the question. Because of you lost the election, you won people, and when you see the gala mentality, the greed, the grab for money, NNP must not adopt this policy. And as we ask about the way forward, based upon the humility, the inclusiveness, the level of tolerance, the frugal living of all the members of the party, one I think could have some fair measure of comfort that it doesn't matter who evolved as the leader of NNP. Even if it is Kate, I believe they will do a much better job than Dick Mitchell. And I think NNP needs to have the convention before the year ends.
That would be a plus.
On the ground, people expect that. People want to know who is going to evolve. This question.
And who they rallying behind.
And I believe the time has come for NNP must feel comfortable. Rest assured, based upon your history, based upon the historicity, based upon your inclusiveness, your level of tolerance, based upon the work that you have done in infrastructure with young people. The University of the West Indies described Dr. Kit Mitchell as the president of the Prime Minister of Scholarship, of Education. You don't have to be bothered. You don't have to be worried. I believe the NDC is definitely history. And it doesn't matter who evolved. Based upon your policy, that person will do much better. I don't think they will deviate from the policy of the government. And there are enough individuals perhaps to nudge them. Don't go and get yourself in no vengeance program or trying to be unkind.
Or any scandals.
Or scandal. Open your arms and the house must welcome all Grenadians and treat them with respect and dignity. And let us bury these utterances of this class structure. Classless. How could you call people classless?
And beggy.
Beggy.
Hungry mouth. The utterances of the Prime Minister.
Needy and greedy. Commoners. Traitors. Big dogs. These individuals, I've not heard that from any member of the NNP, and I think NNP could feel comfortable that you would be on the right track, and you need to have your convention before the year end and get the ball rolling.
Yeah, get the convention going. Thanks for.
And that is the end of the program for the day.
Yeah.
And the two-part program, one agriculture, one deep in politics. And we encourage people to share our program, like our program, subscribe to our program. Thank you very much.
All right, okay.